Our closing keynote, Lisa Blakie, is the narrative director and co-director at Atawhai Interactive, an indie video game studio based in Ōtepoti, Dunedin, New Zealand. Their debut title, Toroa Skycall, released in December 2025. You may also see it nominated for a PAV. She's also a professional practice fellow teaching game writing in the English and Linguistics Programme at Otago University. Previously, Lisa was the narrative designer and community director for award-winning developer Runaway Play, another great Runaway shout-out, and taught game design and production at Otago Polytechnic. Otago Polytechnic is how we met. I had wonderful early New Zealand memories. You and Edwin were some of the first people to invite me to guest lecture over there, and I had such a great time. And still have good memories in sharing beers in Emerson's Brewery down there, so I can't wait to get back. Please give us a warm welcome for, again, a repeated and consistent supporter of the entire New Zealand scene, and tonight's closing keynote, Lisa Blakie!
Hai, ki ngā mana whenua me mihi kia koutou tuatahi, Ngāti Toa rangatira te Ātiawa Taranaki whānui, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ki te hunga ora, tēnā tātou. Ko te atua o Taihu, ko Pukikura no ko Motupohue ngā maunga, ko o tākou te awa, ko te ara kiwa te tai, ko uruao, ko Takitimu, ko Tairia ngā waka. Ko Otago, ko te rau aroha ngā marae, ko tahu pōtiki, ko haku iao ngā whare. Ko Kāi Tahu, ko Kāi te ruahiki, ko Kāti Tauka, ko Kāti Moki ngā hapu, ko Blakie tōku whānau, ko Lisa tōku ingoa, kia ora gamers. I just want to start by thanking the amazing team at Play by Play for your support, financially and also spiritually. It's such an honour to come here and give this keynote talk. Play by Play is my favourite games event ever, and to get to come and talk to you all and close this out, especially on its 10-year anniversary, is really crazy. What the hell? So yeah, just thank you all so much for all your hard work, and long may it live and continue. So yeah, who am I? I kind of gave you just my pepeha, so where I whakapapa Māori to, but I'm just going to talk about myself for a bit longer because it's fun and you gave me power to do so. And I'm really cool and interesting. So cool, who am I? My pronouns are she, her, Kāi Tahu, Waitaha, Pākehā. My Pākehā ancestors are from Scotland and England, so very much a southern cold gal, which I think is why I've been living in Ōtepoti, Dunedin for like 12 years now. I have 2 cats. They're really cute. That's them, Kumara and Ginkgo. That's me and my partner Connor, who's also here. At the Mario movie, I don't know why I picked that photo, just to be like, yeah, I'm a gamer. And yeah, that's my family in the middle with my brother, my mum and dad, my brother's partner. I think my mum's taking the selfie. She's like a chronic selfie taker whenever we hang out, and they always look really bad and someone's always cut off, but kind of love that. I was born in Balclutha, which is a tiny little town kind of near the bottom of the South Island, and moved to Timaru when I was like 10 years old, and then came to Ōtepoti to study. And I'm also 10 years old, which is crazy. And game years. So people say like that makes you a chopped unk or something? Like I'm old or something? I don't know. What have I been doing in games for all this long time? 10 years is such a long time. As Rick mentioned, I started at the amazing company Runaway Play as a community manager initially, but then I kind of moved more into a narrative design role during my time there. And that was just because my bosses are really cool and let me do whatever I wanted. If you're a boss, you should let your employees do that, because then they end up doing stuff like this. I also, am, I guess, teaching the youth of today. I did so at Otago Polytechnic, but now am kind of working 0.5 as a professional practice fellow. What does that mean? No one knows, but it sounds cool. It basically means I came in having experience from the industry, and now it's in an academic kind of context, teaching creative writing for games, which is really amazing. I also am a co-director of Atawhai Interactive, as Rick said, and we made Toroa Skycall, which is what the hell, it's award nominated, let's go crazy. Yeah, what? And I did the writing and the narrative design and like the business stuff, but yeah, my main kind of role on the game was the writing and the narrative design, and I'll just show the trailer in case you haven't seen it. So it wasn't just me that worked on this game. We have an amazing team who worked on it together. And there is 5 of us here today. So if you see Max or Mickey or Connor or David, go and talk to them about the game if you want to. So yeah, there was 7 of us all together. Myself, Connor, and Mickey and Max were kind of like full-time. And then we had David, Byron, and Hiramahina as contractors working on it as well. So yeah, we were all kind of doing a lot of everything, essentially, as indie game teams do. But yeah, we started initially with just myself and Connor and Mickey and Max. We're all from Dunedin, friends. I'm in love with Connor, yeah. But Byron we met through our Te Reo class that we were studying way back in 2021, and he is like a professional taonga pūoro player. So he did the soundtrack, he's also a DJ. And then David we met at NZGDC, who just came over to me and was like, hey, I just saw your game and noticed there's like taonga pūoro in there, and I was like, oh, this guy knows his stuff. And so David came on as the audio designer, and Hiramahina is an incredible award-winning artist who specialised in toi Māori art in the game and is just a legend in Dunedin as well. So yeah, Toroa Skycall launched in December last year, on December 10th. It was announced during Frosty Mini, which is organised by the amazing team at Frosty Games. It felt like the perfect showcase to announce, you know, we just shadow dropped, like, who do we think we are? But it was such a privilege, honestly, to be a part of that showcase. It felt really special getting to be a part of that. That's us on launch day. That cake was made by our amazing office mates at Moon Studio who made Brews and Bastards. It's all like vegan cream cheese icing, so it costs like $200 to make or something ridiculous. That photo is just a snapshot of what our release day kind of looked like, but I was asked to come here to speak about the journey of Toroa Skycall and what goes into creating a game, particularly a game that's grounded in Te Ao Māori. And it's really difficult to cram a 5-year journey of development into roughly 40-minute talk, but what's even harder to do is summarise my own lifelong journey of reconnecting with my whakapapa Māori to even get to a point of comfort to make this kind of game. but I'm going to try to do it anyway, and just reframe this kind of first half of the talk as the making of a series of existential crises with Lisa Blakie. Woohoo! So when did this existential crisis begin? Maybe with this outfit, am I right? What was I thinking? Jokes aside. Growing up, I always knew I was Māori, always loved games, was always really nerdy, but I never really saw my own lived experience as someone who was Māori but kind of disconnected to their culture in media, especially as someone, grew up in the deep south with very little kind of Māori culture around me as well. But it wasn't until university that I really started kind of getting more interested in the kind of why around this, like why aren't we seeing these kind of nuanced representations of what it's like being Māori, or just Māori content in games as well. And so I was really into like audience studies. I studied communications and media, and as well as Indigenous media, and I was became obsessed with looking at self-determined stories and how they're created. And that was really good timing, actually, because this game called Never Alone came out in 2014. This was near the end of my study. I was doing an honours in video games. I didn't know what I was going to do it about. I actually thought it was going to be about gender in games, but around that time was when the whole like Gamergate shit was happening, and I was like, oh, I don't want to get like doxxed, so I'll pivot to Indigenous game dev. It's like, you're still going to probably get doxxed. But why did I do this? Because globally, Indigenous stories, Indigenous culture, it's not really something that should be used and shared by just anyone. I'm so grateful to Johnson for doing that talk earlier today. Really touched on a lot of stuff that I think is so important that we need to hear every year. And this was a really big motivation for me at university too. Like, I really just wanted to make something that was an example of Te Ao Māori and something that's created with love, not just something that's added as flavour or as a cosmetics. So after the kind of success of Never Alone, I wrote a dissertation about why like self-determined stories made by collaborative teams really work. So people from the industry coming in, having genuine relationships and partnerships with Indigenous people, this can lead to creating really impactful, meaningful games. And after this kind of success of Never Alone, I was kind of like sitting around waiting and being like, cool, here's an example, here's the framework. I bet there's going to be heaps of games like this. But I was wrong. After Never Alone, it felt like, there wasn't really any more kind of partnerships or games like this happening. And I didn't know how to make games, but I did know how to talk about them. So I was like, I'll just keep yapping about how I'd love to see more Indigenous created games in the industry. And I've been, throughout my 10 years of game development, been sharing these frustrations in various formats. It was really fun finding these old photos, actually. This panel that I did with Rio and Maru and Johnson there, I was like so nervous to reach out to them, but I just like emailed them, was like, hi, I'm a really big fan of all of your work, and I was wondering if you wanted to do this panel. And they all were just so nice, so chill, agreed to do it. And yeah, the other talk that I did was just more kind of broadly looking at how a lot of game design patterns are kind of rooted in a lot of sort of like colonial systems, essentially. So I figured, sharing this knowledge, doing these talks, it would inspire like game designers to make these games and have these partnerships, but it was still kind of crickets. And it kind of really solidified for me at Play by Play in 2019, actually. And Satna was the keynote, and he was talking about how, your lived experience, your unique kind of worldview is something that really needs to be shared in games. And he said something really simple, but gave me such a clear directive. He just said, I'd love to hear your stories. And it was around this time that I was playing games like Night in the Woods and these sort of like small town Americana games set in really niche pockets, but was super, successful. So I felt really kind of empowered to be like, all right, I'll just bloody make a game myself. I don't know how to program or do art, but I'm sure I can, I don't know, do something. Around this time as well, I felt much more confident in my own Māoritanga, as well as just getting to know more Māori game developers and Indigenous game developers. So building that community was really important for kind of having that confidence around who I was as Māori. This sort of led me into researching, you know, okay, like what Māori video games out there? There is heaps. And I turned this into a play-by-play talk in 2021. So spoiler for the talk, self-determined Māori games are few and far between. The ones that exist are amazing, but the ones that exist around theft and appropriation is still rampant. So unfortunately this slide still stands, still tired. For other reasons too though, because I'm old. No. But this was also around the time that we had sort of formulated the idea for Toroa Skycall. In 2021, it was in its prototype phase, and that wouldn't have happened without the support of code. Yeah, we love code. So I'm a more kind of determined type of tired, you know? I'm tired with a purpose. So even before we got this funding though, I knew that, you know, I was the only Māori on the team. I'm not going to be making these decisions just alone. So I reached out, literally I emailed like ngaitahu.org and was like, hi, I have this idea for this game. What do you think the next steps are? It's easy as that. And they said, great, you should talk to, you know, your local runaka, which was Otago. And they put me in touch with Taikawa, who most of you probably know, did an amazing keynote last year as well. But he actually, at that point, wasn't with Code. It was actually through our local kind of whanoka from Puketiraki, Katarina Ruckstall. And she had said to me, even if this game doesn't get funding, it has to be made. So, you know, I had this belief from my local runaka and iwi as well. But we did get funding, thankfully. That was great. And I also got validation and a trusting partnership to make the game. But this also came with a really immense sense of responsibility. I think that had I not established this whanaungatanga with other Māori game devs and reconnecting with my own Māoritanga, making this game would have been much harder and probably wouldn't have happened. So Toroa Skycall is a drop in a bucket of potential for telling Māori-made stories. And I hope that now that it's out, more Māori will have something to grasp onto and not feel the same sense of kind of overwhelming responsibility like I did. So this journey that I'm still on is a huge part of the development process. I think it often goes understated around this kind of, you know, personal growth we have to do to get to these sort of places to share these vulnerable sort of sides of us. But it's arguably the most important part, having confidence in knowing where you're coming from and why you think it's important is really important for creating any piece of art. What is your intention and where does it fit in the whakapapa of those that have gone before it? So that was like a little bit heavy. So let's get chill and talk a bit more about the kind of nerdy kind of game dev stuff, as well as how we incorporated Te Ao Māori throughout our entire development process. So this is what I'm going to kind of really quickly go through because I have 69 slides, nice. But I'll start with introducing what our design pillars were from the start, talk a bit about our art style and the story in relation to Te Ao Māori as well. You might be thinking like, what about kind of production, the funding that you mentioned? That's a different talk for a different day, and also will make me go back into having an existential crisis, and I don't want to do that again. And also, I just like can't be bothered. So, yeah, like please don't ask me about it. Please don't ask me about it. Not today. Maybe in like another 10 years. So, starting with our design pillars. These were really solid from the beginning. I feel like the vision that we had for Toroa Skycall was really clear from the get-go. We knew that we wanted to make something that showcased where we were from. We've lived there for a very long time. We know exactly, what it looks like, what it smells like, what it sounds like. We also knew that the joy of flight was going to be the main kind of gameplay sort of pillar for the albatross, because they spend majority of their life flying and at sea. It's the main source of transportation and exploration, so it was the thing that we wanted to make sure felt the best. Te Ao Māori was a key design pillar. This extended into not just the language we were using, but the places, the species we were picking. Everything was grounded in this. We also knew we wanted it to be peaceful and non-violent. The core of the game, as well as the tone, should focus on a peaceful experience with non-violent mechanics. We wanted flight to be the main source of joy, as well as exploration and rewards of close encounters with nature. And we wanted the focus to be on the ocean environment. Of course, this is where Toroa spend most of their life, but we wanted to do this both culturally and scientifically. So, how did this come through in our art style? We wanted to look at other games to see, kind of how to establish the sort of look that we wanted to go for as well. So we looked at games. You'll notice that these games are from like 2018, 2017. It's because we started thinking about this ages ago. But yeah, looking at games like Sea of Thieves and Firewatch, Rime, as well as The Stillness of the Wind, kind of getting this use of like complementary colors, simplified materials, and really readable shape language, because we knew majority of the game was going to be set at sea. It was really important that the contrast showed things that were, important for the player to focus on as well. This was one of the first pieces of concept art that Max created. I still think this captures what the game is. It's kind of crazy looking at it, honestly, to see that, this piece of concept art translated completely into the finished product as well. Here you can see that this is really channeling that joy of flight and sense of movement as well. These are another couple of beautiful pieces of concept art as well. Here you can see more of the kind of sparseness of the ocean, but as well as potential points of interest. So that lighthouse piece is actually based on the actual peninsula where the Toroa live in Dunedin as well. I have so much concept art in here, it's so beautiful. But this is what our prototype looked like. It's so cute. This was around end of 2021, 2022. So you can really see, the experimentation with cloud shapes, kind of Toroa going really, really far up as well in the sky, as well as playing with, how the water's going to look, how the sense of space and distance is going to look as well. But we knew we wanted to incorporate, different sort of colour palettes to get a sense of change for the player as well. Because it's set at sea, there's quite a lot of limitations in how you sort of keep that exciting for players. So we play with a lot of different kind of textures, colour palettes, how we can use times of day to really sort of create a sense of change in the world as well. And this, I think, sort of vertical slice sort of art style informed our first piece of key art, which we used a lot. And if you just Google Toroa Skycall, this often still comes up. But then, after a lot of playtesting and iteration, we were kind of like, there's only so much you can do with clouds and water. This is quite hard. We're gonna have to bring in land. We're gonna have to call them in. And we felt like we had really kind of nailed the sort of cloud shape language as well as the water. But again, there's only so much you can do. And so we needed to kind of figure out where we were going to get inspiration from for different aspects of the land. So this is codename Cliff's Room. This piece of concept art is kind of based on multiple sort of locations, but the subantarctic islands in particular is a really important place for Toroa and a lot of kind of like seabirds and sea life as well. So we used the Auckland Islands or Motumaha as a kind of key source of inspiration, and that kind of area is sort of the place that made it in the game. But this is sort of more like a level design layout as well. And so we're like, all right, we're going to make some rocks, I guess. So this is some cool concept art of some rocks. Rocks are so cool. Know what else is cool? Kelp. So things like rocks and kelp, foliage, all of these things, that takes a lot of time to work on as well. So that kind of extended our scope a bit as well. But we knew that we wanted to get it in because it added so much for the world and the different environments as well. So this is kind of what it sort of ended up looking like around beta, and I think that a lot of this is sort of translated into the full version of the game as well. And I'm really happy with how it came out. The trees that you can see in this kind of momentum one are rata trees based on this huge rata forest in the Auckland Islands as well. And this is what it kind of started looking like at launch as well. So look how far it came, wow. So that's our environments and where we kind of got the inspiration from for that. But because this game is grounded in Te Ao Māori, we really wanted to have atua characters, gods, in the game, particularly Tāwhiri Mātia, who's the atua of the weather, Toroa and Tāwhiri Mātia, intrinsically linked because Toroa can't travel without the wind. So Tāwhiri Mātia became like a kind of guidance sort of character for Toroa, and ended up, at the start, actually was going to be like a speaking character that you kind of talk to. So this is like a kind of mock-up of some of his emotions. And I actually really, really struggled for a really long time to like find his voice and his characterization. And I kind of took that as a sign. The fact that I was struggling so much to kind of personify this character sort of made me realize, well, maybe I just shouldn't be doing that. Maybe that's not my place to try to personify this atua that, we respect and we mihi to every day. But I still knew that I wanted to have him in the game. So he's more of kind of what we actually see, I guess, in day-to-day, where it's just a kind of personified character with his whakapapa and his tā moko, but all you do is follow him. You never interact with him. You don't talk to him. It's very much what Toroa actually do with the wind, where they follow the currents to be led to their home. Another character that we didn't kind of give this sort of more like humanized form to was Takaroa, who's the deity of, or atua of the ocean, as well, or Tangaroa. Takaroa is Kāi Tahu dialect. And this is his mataora done by Hiramahina. And this only appears on the surface of the ocean at a very brief time. And it's more of kind of, I guess, like a visual kind of point for the player to see, rather than actually kind of personifying him like Tāwhiri as well. The reason that we wanted to have these elements of tā moko was because they're just really, really shittily done in games, and it just pissed me off. I'm like that Starfield one was so bad, it makes me so mad. So that was just a really key part of the development that we wanted to have. We knew we wanted to have an example of how this can be done. When you actually work with a tā moko artist, you think about the whakapapa of the person of who is wearing this tā moko as well. Guardian Maya is another game that does this incredibly. Another aspect of the kind of Toi Māori design was the whakapapa of Toroa. I spent so long with Hiramahina talking about the whakapapa of these atua, and then she was like, well, what's the whakapapa of Toroa? Like, what's their story? And I was like, I haven't even thought about that. That's really bad. But I'm so glad she asked me that. It was such a blind spot that I never even kind of considered, even though this whole game is about the journey of the Toroa. And so we incorporated essentially the Toroa's whānau. So These Manaya designs, they're all the ancestors of Toroa, and they show up in the game and kind of give you advice, some bad, some good, just like real life. But Hiramahina, she really popped off with these. She made incredible designs. The ones that are used kind of at the start of the game where the ancestors are a bit older, they're the more traditional designs, whereas the ones where it gets into the kind of closer, like grandmother, mother of the Toroa, it's more kind of contemporary designs as well. And all of these Toroa have whakapapa designed within them. So when you're using Toi Māori aspects, you always have to have that story, that whakapapa in mind. You don't just pick what looks cool. All of these, different tohu, different signs have different meaning for each of them. And this is just another cool example of how they looked in the game as well. So that's a bit about how we incorporated Te Ao Māori in the art style. Now I'm going to talk a bit about how I attempted to put it in the story. I really wanted, in our design pillars, we had the joy of flight and the journey of the Toroa as our main narrative. But I also really wanted tikanga Māori to guide how the story was experienced. So I started with manakitaka or manakitanga. So what is that? It's essentially looking after people and others and yourselves. I've had incredible manaki being here at Play by Play. But how do you translate that into a game? How do you show, looking after each other, especially if you're playing as an albatross? The way that I kind of attempted doing this was with a light kind of gifting, as well as, places that you visit. You can't take anything from there unless it's, explicitly kind of either it doesn't belong there or it's sort of floating around in the water. So even just speaking to characters and just listening is, that is a process of manaki as well. It shows that you care about this person and you want to listen to what they have to say. And so a part that maybe I took it too far was I learned that southern right whales, and also lots of other different whales, they just wear kelp on their heads, and no one knows why. They have reckons, they're like, oh, it's for exfoliation, or it's for keeping bugs and sea lice off, or they're like, no, it's just fun. And so I was like, we gotta get kelp hats in the game. And I feel like Mickey asked me multiple times, he's like, do we need this? And I was like, yeah. So this is you only do it once in the game, that's so bad. But yeah, you can give a kelp hat to this little tohora baby, and then after you give it to them, they're just wearing it, and it's real cute. But that is a really light way that I kind of tried to put manakitanga in the game was the things that you're giving to people or to characters are really meaningful to them. It doesn't necessarily give you, an explicit payoff too. You don't unlock an achievement or something from that. It's just for the sake of doing it, for the sake of seeing someone being happy as well. Another aspect was Kāi Tahu or Kāi Tahu, which is kind of guardianship of the land, of the natural environment. I knew that making a game about a Toroa set in the ocean, I knew we'd have to kind of touch on climate change and pollution. But I didn't think it was going to hold as much importance as it did. At the start of prototyping, we weren't even really thinking about it or talking about it. But the more research that I did on Toroa and the ocean and all the sea-dwelling creatures, the more I just learned how horrific the conditions are that they're living in and have been living through due to human impact. It was every day I'd be like, oh my gosh, cute little penguin story, yay, that's so fun. And then it would be horrific footage of mice eating their nests and it was just so bad. Imagine the worst thing ever and then times that by 100, that's what I was dealing with every single day. And that was what it felt like, trying to characterize these different kind of animals in the game. each one was not without their struggles. Like, none of them are having a good time out there. And the most common denominator, though, was something that I feel like is so easy to fix. It's just starvation, which seems ridiculous. This is something that can be, actively avoided because it's a direct result of human impact, corporate greed, things like using long line fishing nets, they get stuck in those. Exhaustion from starvation around, areas where they fish. Let's just not fish there, It seems so simple to me. And I was so mad about it that I was like, we've got to add something else in the game, everyone. It's not just cowpats. So we made these cleaning robot characters, code-named Sigwa, which was named by Mickey's son Giovanni, very cute. But they're kind of there to represent my own frustration. They don't really do anything in the game. Like, you can feed one trash, but they're really bad at doing it. And this was just kind of a way for me to vent out my own frustration and this refusal to tackle this problem at the source. Like, when I would read about these really depressing facts and stuff about how these animals are starving, and they would be like, oh, but don't worry, the ocean cleanup is this organization where we go out and we gather all the rubbish and we take it out of the ocean, or, we've got these little robots that clean the waterways. And I'm like, the rubbish is just going to end up going back there anyway. So, why don't we just tackle this at the source? So, yeah, I just was like, we need these little characters in here to kind of, vent that frustration. We can stop all these problems, and we can, think of other ways of living. And maybe I should have put that in the game. But I didn't want the Toroa to be that vessel of the problem solving, because the Toroa can't solve it like they're a Toroa. They can't fight capitalism, but someone should make a cool game about that. But not our game. I didn't want to leave players in the same kind of despair and cynicism that I was experiencing, though. I really wanted to have something actionable or hopeful. And because of this, I felt like nailing the tone of the game was really difficult, presenting these kinds of themes while leaving the player with something hopeful to hold on to. And overall, I think we did achieve this through sort of hopeful, playful, sort of in the background, but having a menacing tone character. I think another way that sort of helps this kind of hopeful sort of tone is that the Toroa that you play as is not alone throughout the game. I think a lot of people view them as this solitary bird at sea that travels so far, but that's not true at all. The ocean is teeming with life. It's interacting with different creatures every single day. It's just not somewhere that humans hang out as much, because we can't swim that far. Which, that brings me to my last kind of pillar of the story, which I talked about a bit at the start as well, which is whakapapa. I really wanted this to be kind of the key sort of driving theme of the entire game, was the Toroa's journey, back to their whenua, back to their home, but also, looking at their whakapapa, looking at their cousins, who they are. So I just wanted to share some of the characters who share, this place, as well as, the significance in Te Ao Māori as well as just an excuse to tell you how cool different animals are. Starting with the tarapuka, or red-billed gull. Another sad thing I learned is they're more threatened than the kiwi. Can you believe that? Crazy! What the hell? And that's because they're declining at a much faster rate, and it's due to those things I mentioned, like long-line fishing, starvation. It's not an albatross. Everyone would be like, seagull game, you're making that seagull game. No, you're making the albatross game. You're going to force us to make a seagull game. They're also really smart, cute, they mate for life. If you have never seen a red-billed gull baby, you should look it up. It's freaking adorable. These guys follow Toroa to the end of the journey as well. I wanted to, I feel like they get so much hate. People think they're annoying. They're like, oh, they're so annoying being in the city and stuff. I'm like, they're just living. They're actually thriving. And we're annoying. Let them live. Don't feed them chips. It's bad for them. Max also really brought them to life with these incredible character portraits he did. These are just some of the sketches and then the final portraits that made it into the game. This helped so much with writing as well. I felt like the portraits did so much of the communication and the characterization. It was always a joy to receive this art, and working together on this was really fun too. Another character is the Tūpopo, the Hector's dolphin. They're really extroverted and friendly. They love people. They're one of the world's smallest dolphins. They're really sensitive to sound. I don't know if you can read that, but that's like our process of how we figured out the vibe. So yeah, I'd be like, this dolphin is a baby. And then Max would be like, this, right? And I'd be like, exactly, yeah. And then it translates to this amazing key art. So this is just like some of the early sketches and some more of them. And then that's how they ended up looking at game. And they also hang out with a bunch of dusky dolphins. And this is them with the squad, yeah. I also forgot to mention, but all of these species, they hang out in Ōtepoti Dunedin. We've seen almost all of them, I think, except for this guy, southern right whale, who I mentioned. They wear kelp hats, so amazing. Yeah, they're really slow swimmers, but love to yeet themselves out of the water. They're friend-shaped. They're so strange looking. But they actually were thought to be extinct. So the saddest part about their name is they were called the right whale because they were the right whale to hunt. What the hell? Change the name. But yeah, so Ōtepoti and Otago, around that region, that was, they actually used to live there. There was hundreds of them, but then they were thought to go extinct because of the whaling that was happening there. They found out that they actually had gone to the Auckland Islands to kind of recover, and also it was all thanks to the mothers looking after their children in this kind of, enclosed sort of safe area. And they're actually doing better than ever, just in this kind of, amazing sanctuary down there. And, we won't really know if they'll ever come back, but occasionally they're seen swimming past the peninsula in Ōtepoti as well, which I think is, a good sign. Look at that kelp hat, woo. So cute. Yeah, these are some of the sketches. The baby on that side, and then the mum on the other side, and then this is what it looks like in game as well. Hoi ho, yellow penguin, we love them. You all know them, right? They're devastatingly endangered. Thankfully, there is some movement to protecting some of their areas, but they are really shy. They really don't like other animals or even other hoiho. So that's why it's really hard for them to breed, because they see each other and they're like, oh, you're a little bit bigger than me, so you might be a threat. But yeah, they were a really important part in the game because, they're only found where we're from, on the mainland of New Zealand. These are some of the portrait sketches. I feel like the R one is really important, and they do that animation in the game as well. So yeah, you can talk to them in the game, but every time you talk to them, they're kind of like, leave me alone, don't talk to me, I don't want to know about you. Toroa pakoa pango, another really incredible species of toroa that lives in the Auckland Islands. This one is a wife guy. They love to impress their partners by decorating their nests really cool. And they don't care about scavenging, like they're about the fresh food, they're like quite bougie. And I can prove it because look at that baby. I know. It's like wearing this fabulous vest, like what is that about? It's so unnecessary. And so these are some of the sketches of the Toroa pango as well. And this is what it looks like in game. Yes, all of their nests are covered in trash. Why could that be? You should play the game and find out. Kekeno, or kekeno, my te reo teacher told me you have to put emphasis on that, so it's kekeno. Kekeno. Oh, beautiful. So these are, found all throughout Aotearoa. I didn't actually realise that they were actually in so much trouble. And that's because they are incredibly hardworking, particularly the females, the mothers. They're basically pregnant all the time. didn't know that. They really need to learn some work-life balance. But that's why they're so sleepy all the time, and waking them up is really bad because they need their sleep because they're so tired from hunting and foraging and being pregnant all the time. These are some of the incredible sketches, again. And then this is what they look like in game. They're all sleeping, and you can go and talk to them, but when they wake up, they're like, I'm sleeping, can you go away? So yeah, just bringing in those personalities, those characterizations was a real joy, and just having the characters kind of all speak for themselves and not necessarily give you, you know, this expected sort of, I guess, something in return. They're just speaking to you, they're just talking about their lived experience. And it was just an excuse for me to talk about animals that I really like, so thanks. But I think that all of these characters, you know, some of them are in places where they feel like they belong, but I think that Toroa Skycall was ultimately a story about displacement, particularly for Toroa, the character, and striving to return home against all odds. And I think that actually subconsciously, maybe this was the game was me like projecting my own sense of displacement with my kind of whakapapa Māori as well. But you know, what's so wild is that because of us making this game, I was able to do the same thing that Toroa gets to do. I got to return to my whenua. This game, what the hell, I'm gonna cry. Sorry. This game brought me home. Jesus, sorry. Wasn't expecting that. Sorry. Oh my God, it's like 10, 9, 8. So in 2024, Wharikarioi was an Indigenous Game Dev Summit organised, yes, organised by Taikawa, Levi, Kotahi, Mano, Kaika and Code, brought together Indigenous game devs from around the world to stay at Ōtako Marae, the place that I whakapapa to, where my tūpuna are buried. I had never been there before, and this was the first time I got to go. We got to connect, laugh, complain together. This was by far the most fulfilling experience of creating this game. All my kind of anxiety and sense of loss, my existential crisis, they really felt healed by this point, and I had never felt so proud, assured, and happy to be Māori. No! Stop! Okay. Similarly, Toroa Skycall has been the most fulfilling creative endeavour that I've had so far. The development and the whanaungatanga and connection with others has really satiated my deep hunger that I had to make something that celebrated Māori culture from a self-determined experience. And I can only hope that more games like it get made, because like, I want to play them, I don't want to have to just make them all the time, so that would be really nice. I was like, how do I summarize this, you know? Making games is really cool and sometimes sad, right? Yeah. And then I was like, do I have to have like takeaways? I don't know. It would be cool if more Māori could make games. And you can help with that, you know, be an ally, help us get into these spaces. I don't know how to end this. But I really do just want to say a huge thank you to NewZealandBirdsOnline.com. Code for believing in us and funding us from the start. Manatū Taonga, New Zealand Film Commission, all of our Kickstarter backers, and all of our friends and family as well. Oh, I'm going to cry again. Okay, thank you.
Lisa, I'm going to leave it up to you. Would you like to answer some questions?
Sure,
All right.
Don't ask me about production or funding.
All right.
Kia ora. I'd like to ask something on the sort of narrative design side, I guess. When it came to writing animal characters, you touched on it a little when you talked about the sort of struggles and peculiarities that each sort of species faces. How did you sort of go about having a sort of personable charm, character motivations, things like that, while also kind of, you know, having species that are very like real, scientific, rooted in place and all of that? Did you kind of lean more into characterizing those animal qualities as like human qualities, or sort of leading really into the animal side of things, I guess, would probably be the better way to ask that.
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I feel like I got a lot of experience in kind of doing the writing of animal characters when I was working at Runaway. And Jonas, who's a researcher and writer there, he gave me a lot of advice around that. But I think it was kind of a mix where I would take, I guess like with the hoiho, for example, like take that quirk of them being scared of everything, but also channeling that into a frustration that that particular hoiho character had where they were looking for their family and they couldn't find them, because, you know, it's kind of a subtext of being like, there's no more hoiho left, they don't know where they are, they're trying to find their family, but there's probably none left. So it's kind of like that balance of, you know, them doing their screaming thing and being like, haha, but then also being like, oh, it's actually kind of for like a sad reason. And similarly, there's another Toroa character in the game as well, but they're a southern Toroa, and I kind of use them as like a kaumatua, so they like talk in whakatauki, like riddles basically. So it's kind of like being like, oh yeah, it's so funny how like our elders like give you answers in really obscure ways, but so like playing on how Toroa live for like, you know, over, God, up to like 80 years or something, and so showing that, you know, there are these elders, but then also having that aspect of Te Ao Māori, it's like they speak in whakatauki, so yeah. It's kind of a balance of both, and because it was quite limited dialogue too, it was like, didn't want to cram too much in there, so it was like giving them a personality and trying to allude to their real world situation at the same time. It was tough, yeah.
Thank you. That's
Thank you.
really cool.
Let's get drunk at the Paz.